Thank you, Town Clerk. So welcome everybody to our EDI meeting. Not that for very long, as you'll see when we come to one of the points that I make in introduction. But welcome to everybody, both in the room, and we are absolutely full in the room, which is terrific to see. And welcome to those of you joining us online, and particularly welcome to members of the general public. As you know, we try to keep as much of this meeting in public session as we can, but today, unfortunately for you, but for us, we're going to need to take some items in non-public and confidential, but we're very grateful to you joining us. I've got a couple of other points that I'd like to make after the town clerk has said anything in introduction. Reese?
Just good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Equity, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee, following the approval granted by Policy and Resources Committee on the 18th of September to change the name of this subcommittee from the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee to the Equity, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee. My name is Reese Campbell and I'm clerk to this subcommittee. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded and shall be uploaded to the City of London Corporation's YouTube page following the end of this meeting for up to one civic year. Chair.
Thank you, Reese, very much. And just to clarify on the change to EEDI, so Equity, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion, this has been under discussion for a little while. And in the last few meetings, certainly since I've taken over, we felt it was very important to have consistency from the role of the senior officer downwards through the corporation and across members through committee papers and so on to be referring to EEDI. So that was accepted at policy. Hopefully everybody is happy with that after the discussions that we've had over some months in this meeting. So that's just to inform you. And also, if I can take this opportunity to introduce Jerome Williams, we're very happy to have you with us. Director of EDI at CBF, I think that's right.
That's correct, Chair. Yes, I am the Director of EDI at the City Bridge Foundation. And it's a new role to City Bridge Foundation. I'm very pleased to be here. What I'm doing is setting the strategic direction for the organisation going forward. I know Sarah very well, Sarah Guerra very well, and others who work in this space already, so we've already been speaking. I'm new to the role, 3 months in, but yeah, keen to make a difference. I already know James as well, so yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Very pleased to have you with us. So, Town Clerk, apologies.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies have been received from the Chief Commoner, Deputy Henry Pollard and Alderman Sir Charles Bowman in advance of this meeting, Chair.
Chair, sorry, I need to leave at 2:45.
Thank you very much. In terms of the item that's for members that's in the confidential paper, I'll be repeating again at that point that it is confidential and not for discussion outside. So what I would suggest is that members that have to leave either contact me or contact Michael afterwards. But basically, it's for information that there's not a decision at this point, and Michael reappears magically. So, Town Clerk, and that's apologies. So, and members' declarations.
No declarations have been received in advance of this meeting. Do members have anything that they wish to declare?
Anything in relation to the agenda that's not already declared? No, thank you very much.
Moving on to item 3, election of a deputy chair. Just to inform members that nominations close for the position of Deputy Chair 1 working day before this meeting. Therefore, Joanna Abeyi, being the only member indicating their willingness to serve, is duly declared to be Deputy Chair for the ensuing year.
Welcome, Joanna. Would you like to say a few words? Not that you're new to the committee or to everybody here, but no? Okay, she's keeping them till later. Right, okay, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. So, agenda item 4, the minutes for decision, page 5 to 10. If we take these together for accuracy and matters arising otherwise not on the agenda. It was a very full meeting, the last meeting, and I think for those of you that weren't here that it was a good reflection of the discussions. But anybody anything to raise or say? James?
Not specifically with these minutes, but it's the minutes of the in-court meeting, which are in the non-public session. I just wonder why we couldn't have those in the public session. It seems a bit odd, or at least we should have had an abbreviation version at the very least.
It was a bit of procedure because it should have been in a non-public session, but then at the meeting we did hold a public session. I do remember actually, so my apologies.
So I'm not sure whether we then look at those minutes in public session or whether we can have them. Or I mean, point being, the public part of that meeting that we had should be in the public pack. I think the minutes of. Thank you.
Grace, I mean, we're in your hands in governance terms.
Yes, I believe we can have the conversation that we had in public session at the last meeting and have it now.
Yes.
Session.
So
Yeah, receiving now. Yep.
So apologies. So now I've slightly hijacked this one, so I consciously want to approve these
Yes,
minutes, but I'm wondering whether we can also take the minutes, the in-court meeting, which are agenda item 12.
I
in
don't have a
public,
problem with that.
Yeah,
It's
neither
purely
do I.
governance from my point of view.
and then have them
So-
published in public as well.
Yes,
Yep, that's
yes,
fine.
the priest is saying there's no
Absolutely fine,
problem
Chair.
with that. So anybody, if we take item 12 now as well, anybody with anything to raise, same basis on item 12? Yeah, okay, nothing. Okay, thank you very much. Michael, I'm afraid you're sitting in front of the camera. So we're going to have to move you so that everybody has full view of the meeting, please. But thank you very much anyway.
And Chair, can I just confirm that they will then be put into the public domain? That's right.
Deal.
Sorry, I was going to give that clarification, but also, and I know it sounds obvious, we should make sure that the public minutes go into the public pack. At the moment, agenda item 12 also includes the non-public minutes in the same report. That will be separated out. So the non-public discussion will stay in the non-public and the public will be moved into the public.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. Yes. Right. We're now clear. Thank you very much. Right. So moving on to item 5, destination city. Have we got Jen here? Oh, Ben. Okay. Do you want to move to a microphone? So this is to be taken as read. It is for information, so we don't want to spend a huge amount of time on this, page 11 to 25. And I haven't had any questions in advance, so bearing that in mind as well. But Ben, we're very pleased to welcome you in Jen's place. So you'll be picking out the key threads. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, Jess. Thanks firstly for the invite to address the subcommittee. Next to me is Eloise Evans, who's this is her first committee or subcommittee. And I said, what a nice one it would be for her first one. So with buttering you up over with, the purpose of this report is to give you an update as a subcommittee about the progress we've made on implementing the Martin Review of Destination City. I think a lot of you will already be aware that Destination City's had 2 phases, the first of which was post-pandemic, focused on the city as a leisure destination aimed at visitor footfall. The town clerk, as you'll already be aware, instituted an independent review of Destination City, which resulted in Destination City Phase 2, which is what's in front of you at the moment. A couple of things that I'd just pull out of the review were, firstly, to focus less on the visitor economy and more on growth. And then secondly, to refocus the Destination City team, so it's a centralised hub in the centre of the organisation that brings different parts of the organisation and our external partners together to deliver our outcomes. The 4 outcomes that we're working towards are as in the pack and in Appendix 1. But in a nutshell, to make us a destination for global business, one of the ways we're doing that is through the creation of the City Business and Investment Unit in the Environment Department, to attract current city workers back to the office, so through our cultural strategy and through our heritage and through green spaces and parks. The 4th pillar, because I'm going to come back to the 3rd because that's one we're asking you about. The 4th one is about making sure that we are an active destination at the weekends, particularly for the visitor economy, but also that it's a great place to live and to explore as well. The 3rd of the 4 outcomes that we're driving towards, which is the one I think is of most interest to the subcommittee, is to make sure that we're an inclusive and welcoming destination to the next generation of talent. The initial work that we've done on this is as in the report. We're at really early scoping stages, so this is really timely. What I would say is it's proving really difficult to understand the demographics and also the sentiment of our worker population. Much more difficult than it is with our resident population. Part of that is due to sort of data irregularities in the Office of National Statistics, which you might have picked up in the news. Some of the quality of the data that's coming out of the ONS is quite poor at the moment. And so what we're looking for at the moment is ways in which we can engage our worker community to understand it better, who they are, but also what matters to them in terms of whether they want to work here in the long term, whether they want to commute here on a day-to-day basis. So that's the work we're doing at the moment. I think all of you be aware that there's a lot of different initiatives and a lot of different programs that have been agreed over the past sort of 10 years in this space. Part of the work that we're doing is to make sure that all of those are actually aligned, working in the same direction, and they're communicated properly to the people we want to talk to. So again, that's a piece of work that's happening in the background. We'll be bringing forward an initial report to Policy and Resources in the next few weeks, and then this piece of work will be developing over the next 12 months as well. So your input at this really early stage is welcome, and really happy to pick up any questions either on the main programme or on this particular strand of work, or any other aspect of the programme as members desire.
Okay, thank you, Ben. So any questions, anyone, given that this is for information? Okay, yeah.
Just in respect of the fourth pillar that you mentioned and kind of weekend amenity, kind of just asked that there's something done about what's open where. So for example, the toilet scheme at the moment appears to be a 7-day scheme, but it's actually profoundly different at the weekend, and it's very difficult to find toilet facilities, particularly for disabled visitors, using the information about that scheme that's currently available. So that's a significant barrier to entry to those sorts of even whole areas of the city at weekends. And at the moment, there isn't the nuance in the work that we've got around toilets and the toilet scheme to say, well, actually all of the pubs and bars in this area that's
I do have to say we discussed this ad infinitum in Port Health, as Peter is aware, but I assume you're talking to Port Health about this point specifically. Is that right?
Yes, Chair, that's right. And so toilets comes up probably more than I would expect in this job. I think it's it proves that it's a really important point, and we need to get it right. So there's probably a couple of different aspects to it. So one of the things that in a previous role, one of the programs I worked on was changing places. So that's if you're a severely disabled adult, there's the kinds of toilets that are accessible for you to get changed in with your carer. It's those are the sorts of interventions that that we could put in place, but also at a more general level, being really clear what's open when, not just the things that we own, but for example, if you go down One New Change in the shopping centre there's a toilet in the basement. I've worked here for 3 years. I had no idea. So we're working with the managing agent of that shopping centre to make sure that it's actually signposted from the street, and not just you'd happen to walk into the bottom corner of the shopping centre and find that it's there. So it's those simple things, working with partners as well as in our own sort of backyard as well, I think, Chair.
Reassuring, good. And David again. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you so much for the report. I just wanted to refer to the section 13, which is some of the ONS stats, and the final bullet point there on sexual identity. I mean, that seems rather low, 6%, if I'm honest. So I would question, I know we said about the validity of the data, but if that is correct, then actually I really would hope that we're continuing to really push hard to bring together the various LGBTQ plus networks to support that 6% within the city, because that is such a small number. And I think it's indicative that if we're talking about destination city, that actually that is a really safe and inclusive space. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, if I may, it's a really good point. So I think with the ONS stats, I don't want to say take them with a grain of salt. It's a big piece of salt. So I think they're useful. We shouldn't rely on them, and it's not the only piece of evidence that we need. And the more we look into this, the less convinced I am that they're really telling a true picture. So this is a long way of saying that 6%. I'm not going to make any policy decisions or recommendations on the back of it.
Thank you. Just sort of thinking about accessibility at weekends, I think the other one that has been raised as, perhaps in a different context is perhaps the city, the city and Waterloo line, you know, from the drain, because you know, I think, you know, that is a, you know, when it's not running, it is quite a significant barrier for people actually who are dependent on public transport. And I do think looking at it through this lens as well would be important. Thank you.
So Ben, likewise, is that bit in discussion in another area?
So in fact it is, yes. We have an industry breakfast which policy chairman has every quarter. The one that we held, I think, about 7 weeks ago, that was one of the main issues that the hospitality sector raised with us, and we've taken away an action. So when the policy chairman next meets with the TfL commissioner to raise it in that forum, yes.
So I would imagine the next question from members will be, there's lots of plate spinning almost at the moment where you're information gathering, and some of these things are very cross-disciplinary, but from our point of view really are to do with access of people from one thing to another. So when would we expect some of that sort of the more concrete material to be drawn together for this committee, with some exemplars of how the access has been drawn into a, if you like, a focus?
So I think there's a few different levels to that question. Some of these are really specific questions. So am I going to be able to give you an update in 3 months to say that TfL have reopened the Waterloo City line? Probably not. Can I tell you in 3 months' time that we've taken action to lobby them to do so? Probably yes. In terms of updates on this strand of work as a whole, I would anticipate it's giving 6 monthly updates. So when it goes to policy and resources in October, 6 months on from that date, I would be expecting to update this committee, this subcommittee and the Grand Committee on progress against this and all of the other strands. So I'm more than happy to give that commitment, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Joanna. Microphones, no, here.
Oh, should I? Okay. Oh, sorry. Apologies. Thank you, Chair. So I just had a couple of questions. One was just on, as we progress this, how is it communicated sort of among members so that wards are able to, council are able to inform the wards of these different things, especially in relation to the weekend elements and some of the improvements, and certainly around accessibility. And then the other, I guess, element of it is sometimes when people do come into the city, especially if they're of a particular age and of a particular background, if I think about black males in particular, if they're in the city for some of the social events that some of the bars have, their experience isn't always particularly pleasant. And some of the feedback can be around profiling of them, not getting access into venues just based on, yeah, their profile really, and them having sort of additional requirements in order to be able to enjoy some of the same things that lots of others enjoy. And so I just wondered if we've aligned a lot of this intent and good work and everything in this report with policing, so city policing, so they're aware of that, with venues and the way that they're treating people that come into the city, because we invite people in. It also, because of the fact that we want to be inclusive, they also need to feel included and that they're not going to be profiled when they engage in any of the activities that we're putting on. And the same goes for faith. We've got the faith in the city, but being profiled based on visible representation of your faith is also something that's a challenge. So I just wondered if we're joining up with as many stakeholders as possible to mitigate against that experience.
I think it looks like, yeah, Edward's got a question in a similar vein. So Edward, you're...
Well, it's just my experience of 20 odd years of being a magistrate. I am acutely aware, and I apologise to my friend James here, who I know is a great advocate of the City of London Police, as am I, but the number of times that I hear the words, we were on patrol and we smelt a strong smell of cannabis and therefore we stopped. People who inevitably were of a particular demographic, is quite disturbing. So I would entirely echo the Deputy Chair's remarks. I think we do need to just be careful about whether there is a degree of targeting going on.
So thank you. So Ben, two areas really. The first about communication towards members in a, well, sometimes in a wider way, but sometimes ward specific, I think. And then the second is the access to venues, the demographic of people, the profiling and so on.
So firstly, on the how do we engage with members? Hopefully, some of you will have noticed the monthly Destination City Bulletin that lands in your inbox. That's the primary way that we engage with members. We also update the members briefing every month. If through the Destination City Partnership Fund, something in your ward gets funded, you will get a notification that it's been funded. So those are the three primary ways that we communicate with members. Always open for a one-on-one conversation at any time with any of you. Just let us know. On the profiling point, I don't have an answer. It's an operational policing point. We do need to talk to the police about this. We haven't yet. So I'm more than happy to take away that when we next meet with the Commissioner and get a response.
Okay, good, excellent, thank you. Yes.
Thanks for the report. Just a very simple question about the number of workers, 678,000. Is that actual bodies or is it people registered to work online?
That's a really good question. It's a measure of jobs in the city. So if I'm Deloitte, I will have a headquarters in the city, and I will make a report into government to say this is my head count. So it's jobs based in the city.
So I could be living in County Down and managing a team in the City of London, yes?
So theoretically, possibly, I would say it's unlikely that many of these are going to be fully hybrid, but it's theoretically possible.
Sorry, it keeps going off those online. So I think I need to move on now, but will you be reporting back to us? I think there's a number of issues here which I sense members would quite like this to be a continuum, really, and not to have a big gap before a further report back. So maybe to the next meeting to do the same again with picking up some of these issues. If there's absolutely nothing further forward, in some ways something's not right, isn't it?
Yeah, more than happy to come back to the subcommittee chair. You'll have to remind me how often you meet. If it's 8 weekly, it's quarterly.
Yes, quarterly.
Okay, I think that's reasonable.
So that would be about right, wouldn't it? If okay, everyone happy with that? Good. Thank you very much. So moving on to faith in the city, similar for information, but I know has caused huge interest. We have Mark with us again. Thank you, Mark, for coming. Page 25 to 62. Very interesting discussion at policy. I have to say, quite surreally, it felt like going back to the 1970s in some respect, because I thought some of the issues were gone and, you know, sorted and so on. So it was quite interesting from that point of view. You've all had the paper. Again, for information, I've had nothing in advance in terms of questions in advance. And the point of the critical recommendation in the report was that faith in the city be adopted as an official project of the City of London Corporation, with the aim for the City of London becoming a faith-friendly business district that works with supportive interactions, and we're not missing a trick almost in this area. So I think, Mark, to pass this over to you, and then there probably will be some questions, but again, I'll limit the time that we spend on those, Mark.
Is it worth mentioning to the meeting at the outset that the recommendation was amended at the Policy and Resources?
Yeah, I'm passing to Mark. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Deputy Dunphy. Yes, as the Chair outlined, or as has been outlined, it was amended slightly to say that we support the faith in the city policy, not that it would be adopted as a formal policy of this organisation, but that we will carry on our work supporting this agenda, and that we will work with those working on this project to put together the faith in the city advisory group that will allow us to use our sort of networks and influence as an organisation to drive it further. I will make similar introductory remarks to I did at VNR, which acknowledges that the faith needs of the square mile are changing as a global financial centre that draws people from all over the world, and to reflect the changes that have taken place in UK society. While it's true, as was pointed out at PNR, that the number of people of no faith is increasing, it's also true that an increasing proportion of young Londoners in particular practice religions other than Christianity. And while our worker population is very diverse, the city has a unique challenge that this diversity is often hidden behind office walls. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of individuals. Uniquely amongst local authorities in London, we have no official interfaith forum. We do not have formal faith leaders representing institutions outside of Christianity and Judaism. There is a difficulty even for established faith groups, including the churches, of reaching city workers at scale. Therefore, and what I think is relevant to this committee is how do we ensure we're able to fulfil our statutory duties under the Equality Act to foster good relations when it comes to faith? In terms of our organisation, how do we fulfil our diverse, engaged communities' corporate plan outcomes on matters of faith? And how do we create, as my colleague Ben so excellently outlined, a welcoming environment as part of the Destination City programme when it comes to people of faith? We're not the only place looking at this issue. Canary Wharf has had a multi-faith chaplaincy for 2 decades. Abu Dhabi has a very interesting model, as does Berlin, and many university campuses across the country and across the world. The research you have in front of you was carried out by the team at Union Street Consulting, who are real experts in multi-faith provision, drawn from the main Abrahamic faiths. 1,000 people participated in that research online and through focus groups and in-depth interviews, and it shows a clear support for multi-faith provision and an increase in awareness amongst businesses for supporting the faith needs of their staff. As outlined, PNR has expressed its support for this initiative and will be using our networks to support next steps, including through a pilot that will be carried out as soon as funding has been secured. This is being delivered as part of the wider City Belonging project. As again was outlined in the last discussion, it's really vital that we're reaching out to businesses and their staff networks of faith, as we have done, to bring them into this programme and bring them into constant conversation with our organisation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark, very much. So any questions from anybody? James, was that was like an almost, but I'm not sure.
No, it wasn't at all. I'm only looking down the table because I think quite a few of us are in the conversation at PNR, and as you know, I very fully supported this. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think, Mark, again, a bit like the Destination City paper, in sort of the next quarter, will that be an appropriate time to move forward so that we can update people, even if something's not coming to PNR? I think.
Thank you, Chair. I will certainly, if something happens, I will provide a full update to the committee, certainly, whether that's a verbal update or through a paper.
That would be great. Verbal update would be fine, but I think people here by definition are really interested in the progress that's being made. Thank you very much. Everybody okay with that? Good. Right. Thank you, Mark, and some great work. I thought it was a really interesting paper. Right, so item 7 now. Welcome to Helena. Where's Helena gone? Here. So Helena, item 7, the Equity, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Charters, Members and Partnerships. For information, page 63 to 68. In some ways a formality, but 1 or 2 things that you would like to draw attention to.
Thank you, Chair. So this, just to recap, this paper was for information, and the City Corporation has a number of memberships and partnerships relating to EEDI. Our partnerships would need to be assessed against our EEDI aims. So following agreement of the EEDI strategic framework, which is talked about in non-public later, a full review of our existing and future memberships is proposed to assess strategic alignment, accountability and our risks and opportunities.
But members may well be interested to hear that one of those memberships, the Women in Finance Charter, was submitted yesterday. The Women in Finance Charter is managed by New Financial on behalf of HM Treasury, with the aim of addressing gender inequality in the financial services. And I thought just to put to your attention, where we are currently, 48% of senior leaders in City Corporation are female, compared to 52% of our staff. So we're significantly better than some of our comparators out in the financial industries. And I intend to circulate a copy of that submission to members for their information.
Thank you very much, Helene, and some excellent work going on in this area with our partners as well. So anybody, any questions there? No, okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Helena. I've had no questions in advance. Anybody, any questions they want to raise? Now, any other business? Helena, I'm going to come back to you. Along with your team, I presented the Sutton Trust Network event, and it was only, when was it? Tuesday. So I think, again, a very positive move forward. Do you want to say something about that here?
I will very quickly. Thank you, Chair. Again, just to bring to the attention of members that our partnership with Sutton Trust had its inaugural event early this week. It was an information and panel session focusing on social mobility within the arts. And we had over 30 people were joining us in the room, with another 50 registering for the recording. And I found it extremely validating in demonstrating the value of the creative sector within the city and the UK, and the impact City of London Corporation has to widen access within the creative industries. And I'm extremely grateful to our chair for facilitating and hosting that event. And we intend to continue this focus at the next EEDI subcommittee. A presentation of the culture strategy and separately the social mobility update will also be coming to this committee.
Thank you very much. Anybody else, anything to raise under any other business? No? Okay, Town Clerk.
The next item is the exclusion of the public. This item is for decision.
Yeah. So just say thank you to any members of the public listening, and we look forward to having more of our agenda in public next time. Thank you.
Shall now exclude the public and ask my colleague to end the live stream. Bear with me.